Get ready for bed with me while I tell you guys a crazy story about a curse that's been on my family for over 40 years, and I only just discovered it because of a piece of jewelry. So this sequence of events is really just so weird, and if you guys have any weird myths or anything like that, any kind of curses that you feel like you have on your family, I'd appreciate you letting me know that I'm not the only one, because this is wild. This all started because I was cleaning my room and I found this necklace, and I had never seen it before. I had no idea where it came from. So when I find it, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should get one of those jewelry cleaners that like scrubs it so it looks like it's brand new, just so I can kind of figure out whose jewelry this is. So I order it on Amazon, and the jewelry cleaner literally gets there within like 2-3 hours. It's amazing. So I clean this necklace, I get it all pretty looking, and now I want to clean more jewelry. So I asked my dad for my mom's jewelry box, and this jewelry box has been in my family forever. I know that most of the stuff that's in there has been passed down since my great-grandmother on my mom's side. So I get the jewelry box and I clean a bunch of things in it, even though it's like only costume jewelry, but it still needs cleaning every once in a while. Now, none of this jewelry is worth absolutely anything. It's completely worthless. It's just costume jewelry. But I start Googling it because I'm like, you know what? It would be really cool if I Google this jewelry and I find out that like one of the brooches in there is a membership pin from some 1930s sorority club or something. Like, who knows? I could find something really cool. So I'm gonna Google it. So I start Googling and I start with this starfish pin. And it looks pretty, but again, I know none of this stuff is gonna be worth anything. So I start Googling and it's so weird because I literally cannot find this pin anywhere. It does not exist on Google, which is really weird because, like, I don't know, it's cheap, it's not unique. You would think you'd be able to find a million of them, but I can't find it anywhere. I do find this starfish pin that looks kind of similar on this girl's Etsy page, but not the same exact thing, so I just keep looking, and I end up going, like, deep into the bowels of the Google universe, and I don't find it. So the next thing that I start Googling is the same thing. I can find something similar, but I can't find the same exact thing. And I only find one thing on Google that's a little similar. And the weird thing is, the similar thing that I find is on this same girl's Etsy page. So instead of just continuing to Google, I go to this girl's Etsy page and I start searching through her catalog of stuff because I'm like, if she has this, maybe she has some other similar things. It's not that this girl has every single thing that I have. It's just that she has every single thing that I have with a slight difference. I have these earrings in gold and she has them available in silver. I have this ring, she has the exact same one, but it's in a different size, and it even has the same inscription on the inside. It's weird. But I'm like, I'm not a crazy person, it's just a coincidence, I'm gonna keep looking. So I keep looking through her catalog, and I'm convincing myself that I'm just being a crazy person until I happen upon this brooch. This brooch I went back to Google for, and I looked for anything, even a little bit similar, to try to figure out this brooch, figure out what it is, where it's from, anything. And I cannot find anything even a little similar, as much as I try. I look everywhere, I can't find anything even a little similar. So I go back to this girl's Etsy page, and lo and behold, I find a brooch, and it's not the same exact thing, but it is the same scene. Like, my brooch has a picture of a girl, and it's a building, and there's trees, and hers is the same exact thing, but the girl is bigger, and the building is bigger, because it just seems like the scene is a little bit closer to the girl in her brooch than in mine. So once I see that, I'm like, okay, I'm not insane. This is not a coincidence. I'm reaching out to this girl. Maybe she's like a long-lost family member or something. Like, I have to know her from somewhere. So I start the email out and I'm like, I'm so sorry to come off as like a crazy person. I know I'm gonna come off as absolutely insane, but I'm 99% sure that I don't know you, but we have all this jewelry in common. And I start telling her the story. And I tell her, like, I got this jewelry box from my mom, but she really didn't add anything to it, and she died back in in 2019. And then I tell her, like, okay, so she got it from her mom, who also really didn't add much to it. She added some things, but not much. And she died back in 1999. And I tell her that her mom, so my grandmother's mom, is the one that really, like, put this jewelry box together, put all the stuff into it. And she died in... And then I stopped, because I'm like, am I a crazy person? Or have I written the number 9 way too many times in this email? Like, this is weird. So I start thinking about it, and I realized that my great-grandmother, my mom's mom, died in 1989. And as I'm going through it in my head, the pieces all start to fall together. So I reach out to my aunt about this, and I'm like, hey, I just thought of this crazy thing, and we realized that we are missing one number. We're missing 2009. So now I'm convinced that my cousin who passed away, he must have died in 2009. So I go back and I'm like, okay, let me confirm the date of his death. I go into my Facebook and I figure out that it wasn't 2009, it was actually 2012 that he died. So my aunt is like, well, we had other, like, cousins, go check Ancestry. So I go and check Ancestry, and I'm looking through Ancestry, and I'm like, okay, this must be a bust. I must be a crazy person, because you can't have a gap year. If no one died in 2009, then I'm just a crazy person. But as I'm going through Ancestry, I realize that my great-grandmother on my other side died in 2009. My dad's mom's mom died in 2009. So now I'm like, okay, this is wild, because not only has there been a major death in my family every 10 years on the year ending in a 9, but it's been a major matriarchal figure in the family. The last one was my mother, the one before that was my great-grandmother, the one before that was my grandmother, and then the one before that was my other great-grandmother. And as I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, I start thinking about this crazy thing, and you guys are gonna think I'm insane, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. So my grandmother's whole life, she always said, like, oh, when I die, I'm gonna die at, like, 111 or 222 or 333, one of those times. Like, when I die, I'm telling you, look at the clock, I'm gonna die at one of these weird consecutive number times. So she died in 1999, and it was really sad. She had all of her kids around her. She had 7 kids. They're all standing around her, holding her hand. But when she died, you best bet that they all looked at the clock waiting to see. It must be like 111 or 222 or something. There's no way she could have gotten this wrong all these years. Turns out that when she died, it was like 1:47 in the afternoon. And everybody sat there, and, like, it was a little levity and a really sad moment, because it was like, oh, she spent her entire life saying that she was going to die at 111 or 222, and she died at like 1:47 in the afternoon. Completely random. Not consecutive numbers at all. It wasn't until later in the day, when everybody's sitting around and they're sad and they're telling stories about her, that everybody realizes, wait, what's today's date? They look at the calendar, and lo and behold, the date was September 9th, 1999. So my grandmother died on 9/9/99, which would be the last consecutive date, probably until January 1st, 2011. So it's a long time until the next one. So now I'm convinced that my family has a curse on it that has something to do with the number 9. My grandmother dies on 9/9/99. My mom died in 2019. My grandmother on my dad's side in 2009. My grandmother in 1999. And then my great-grandmother on my mom's side in 1989. This has been going on for 40 years. 40 years. And nobody ever stepped back and realized it. How did nobody ever realize this? And the only reason that I realized it was because I wrote an email and I wrote the number 9 too many times. So yeah, if anybody else has, like, a curse on their family or a weird wives' tale myth kind of thing going on with their family, I would really appreciate you letting me know that I'm not the only one, because there's no way that nobody else has anything like this, and I just have some random curse on my family. So let me know, please.